Number 10. Will Smith versus Janet Hubert. Will Smith got his big break in the acting world thanks to his successful time on the hit sitcom Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The show followed Will as the titular prince, living with his wealthy family in Bel-Air, surrounded by cousins, uncles, and of course, his Aunt Viv. In season 1, Aunt Viv was played by a woman named Janet Hubert Whitten, but as many know, she was recasted after an on-set feud with Will Smith that went a little bit too far. According to Will, Janet viewed him as the antagonist of her life. She had been in the business for years when Will just suddenly popped into her life. She held a tinge of jealousy towards Will as he just walked into her town and got the gig. That's what happens when you're good at your job, Janet. She was trying to convince the producers to give her character more screen time and allow her to breathe on camera, but they said no because it was not the Aunt Viv show. She fought back hard, but it was ultimately decided that she would be asked to sit out the rest of the series and be replaced by Daphne Maxwell Reid, who is the Aunt Viv that we all know and love. Number 9. Lady Gaga and Perez Hilton. Ra ra ooh la la. Lady Gaga has been the queen of pop music for over 15 years, delivering hit after hit over and over again. Paparazzi, Poker Face, Just Dance, so good that it got its own game for the Wii. Back in 2009, she was actually very good friends with a man named Perez Hilton. For those who forgot this man exists, I do apologize for the triggering photographs that are surely on the screen right now. Perez is a famous blogger who in the early 2000s was the man with the inside scoop, but it was because he was being friendly, learning secrets and exposing them on the internet. Apparently, following the release of Lady Gaga's Born This Way, Perez was overwhelmingly negative about the project, and he actually egged her on one night while indulging in the no-no juice, trying to make her cry for a photo op. As you may guess, she decided to dump her fake friend from her life, which had a massive effect on Perez himself. Thanks to the public shame brought down on him by Gaga, and the rest of Hollywood did the same. He was slowly weaned out of the public eye, and hey, this is the first time you've heard about him in forever, so there you go. Number 8. Cardi B and Brian Zaz. This will not be Cardi's first time on this list, as she's been known to be quite temperamental. Last month, a small submarine imploded at the bottom of the ocean near the wreckage of the Titanic. Inside were 5 passengers, including the stepfather of one, Brian Zaz. Now, Brian is no one special. In fact, according to Cardi, nobody knew who he was until he told the world that his stepdaddy was on board the submarine. He did tell people in a strange way though. After the news of the sub being missing spread across the globe, Brian tweeted that he was worried for his stepdad, but that he still planned on attending the Blink-182 concert and tagged the band members. Like, they're gonna see that and go, oh, right on, little dude. He also mentioned his stepfather when tweeting a model of a website that's only for fans. Get it? Cardi B decided she needed to call this man out on his behavior. She claimed the boy was using Twitter for clout and that he should take the situation more seriously instead of partying with models and attending concerts. Well, Brian clapped back by calling her new music trash and claiming that he was using Blink-182 as a coping mechanism. Regardless of why this feud took place, Brian was forced to delete his account on Twitter, and Cardi received a little bit of backlash. Oh yeah, a submarine blew up. Number 7. Katy Perry, an American Idol contestant. Recently, Katy Perry took to social media to announce that she wants to quit the successful singing competition American Idol after 6 years over fears that she is being thrown under the bus by producers who edit the show to make her seem like she's a nasty judge. Katy has faced a slew of controversy and scandal over the current season of American Idol, and it seems like it's all becoming just too much for her to bear. For those who don't know, on the recent season of American Idol, Katy Perry had an interesting reaction to a contestant revealing that she was a mother of 3 and much older than she looked. Katy stood up out of her chair and almost laid on the judges' table. The contestant, Sarah Beth, joked that if Katy laid on the table, she would die, and Katy responded with, "Honey, you've been laying on the table too much." At first, everyone laughed and this seemed all good and fun, but following her audition, Sarah announced that she would be going back to California to be with her family, claiming that she just wasn't cut out for show business. But she later took to Twitter to call Perry out for that joke, which was both mom shaming and something else shaming that I can't say on the internet. While this was a one-time incident, Katy has been known to be shady during her time as a judge, and her comments aren't always as helpful as I'm sure they're meant to be. Number 6. Vin Diesel versus Dwayne Johnson. Diesel and The Rock first crossed paths working together on the set of the 5th installment of the Fast and Furious franchise, Fast 5. Yeah, they're real clever with the names, these guys. Apparently their time on set was anything but romantic. According to crew members and cast on Fast and Furious sets, these two were constantly arguing on set over the littlest things. The Rock actually posted a comment aimed at Vin, calling his newest co-star a candy bum. Alright, he didn't say bum bum, but I'm not allowed to say the real word, so I must speak like a toddler. While rumors were flying left and right, these guys never made a public statement on the matter, but it was Johnson that confirmed that he and Vin never actually filmed their scenes together in Fate of the Furious, which might be why the movie felt so stitched together and just bad. The feud was so bad that instead of continuing to include his character in the franchise, it was decided that The Rock would just get his own spin-off buddy team-up movie with Jason Statham's Deckard Shaw, which is the backfire that landed him on this list, because while fans loved Hobbs and Shaw, everyone else called it a dud, and the movie was ultimately a flop. Number 5, Taylor Swift versus Kanye West. That's right, these two are in a feud, and can you guess who suffered for it? I'll give you a hint. In 2009, Kanye interrupted Swift during MTV's Music Video Awards, as she was in the middle of an acceptance speech for Best Female Music Video. He called Beyonce's video the best of all time before awkwardly leaving the stage, but over the next few months, their rumored feud had become public, with Swift bashing Kanye's rude behavior during a time that was specifically set for her. Kanye later apologized and things seemed to be okay until 2015, when the rapper released a song called Famous, in which he said the line, and I'm paraphrasing of course because it's the internet, "I feel like me and Taylor may still make love. Why I made that beef famous." Swift was very vocal about her dislike for the song and claimed that it was written to undermine her success. A few months later, Swift also put Kanye's then wife Kim Kardashian on blast after the influencer had publicly approved of the song's lyrics. Joke's on them though, as they had just made enemies with a woman who fuels her soul with haters. Kanye eventually canceled himself because it turns out he was not a good guy at all, so happy ending to that one. Number 4, Nicki Minaj versus Miley Cyrus. MTV, the channel that just continues to deliver us such juicy reality moments. MTV is responsible for the inception of one of the greatest award shows of all time, the Video Music Awards. This ceremony celebrates the best and brightest of the music industry, but in 2015 things got extra juicy. Miley Cyrus, remembered fondly as Hannah Montana and remembered for riding a wrecking ball, was hosting the ceremony and doing a pretty solid job. Rapper Nicki Minaj had just taken the stage after winning the Best Hip Hop Video Award, but quickly shifted the audience's attention from herself to the host. Minaj was calling Miley out for supposedly talking trash about her in a recent interview. She asked, "Hey Miley, what's good?" And Miley responded. She kept her cool and explained that everyone in the industry knows that news outlets and interviewers can manipulate footage to make comments sound worse than they actually are. She then reminded the audience about her difficult to watch performance at the ceremony in 2008 and threw an 80-foot picture of it up on the wall to emphasize her point. Minaj's mic was cut off and Miley introduced the list of artists being nominated for Best Future Artist before leaving the stage. Nicki loves to fight, but she received massive amounts of backlash from people attending the ceremony telling her to just leave the drama at home next time and let Miley do her thing. Number 3, Kanye West and Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson became the youngest cast member on Saturday Night Live when he was hired at the age of 20, and he was a massive part of the show until leaving it last season. In 2021, Kim Kardashian hosted an episode of the show and starred in a sketch with Pete parodying A Whole New World from the Disney movie Aladdin. The sketch was okay, but apparently sitting that close to each other all week really got him going. At the time, Kim was still involved with rapper Kanye West, who actually attended the live show, but he stormed out of the room following her scene with Pete. Apparently, Kanye had been present at rehearsals all week, and he remembers regularly seeing Pete and Kim smiling and laughing together while he was being ignored entirely, like a toddler standing in the corner just like, "When's it my turn?" Kanye called out Pete online telling him to stay away from his woman. Well, Kim didn't like that kind of behavior at all, and not long after their feud was made public, Kim and Kanye began their divorce process, and simultaneously Pete announced that him and Kim were officially dating. Since then, Kanye has publicly bashed both his ex and Pete for their actions. You mad, little Kanye? That sucks. Number 2, Isaiah Washington versus Grey's Anatomy. Grey's Anatomy is a TV drama centered on the personal and professional lives of 5 surgical interns and their supervisors. The show garnered a massive fan base and was on air for over 420 episodes. For 62 of those episodes, a man named Isaiah Washington portrayed the character of Dr. Preston Burke. Following his departure from the series, Isaiah took to social media to call out the cast and crew of Grey's Anatomy for creating a hostile work environment. It was actually later revealed that apparently Isaiah himself was responsible for the so-called hostility. He had started multiple feuds with fellow cast members, including a physical altercation with Patrick Dempsey on set. He used homophobic slurs against T.R. Knight, and he threw shade at Katherine Heigl for throwing shade at him for using that slur. Needless to say, this is a very one-sided feud, as the Grey's producers just simply shut the door in this guy's face and told him to take a hike. Maybe next time you'll respect your workplace, Isaiah. Number 1. Cardi B versus Asha Davies. In 2017, rapper Cardi B and model Asha Davies appeared on an episode of VH1's Love and Hip Hop talk show. Things became heated very quickly when the topic of Asha's ex-boyfriend Swift came up. According to Davies, she was convinced that Cardi and Swift were intimate together while she was still dating him. Cardi responded to the accusation by throwing her stiletto at her face and then jumped up and began making her way towards the model, but was stopped by 2 large security guards. Good thing too, considering on the other side of the room, Asha had done the same thing and was also being held back. An all-out brawl almost took place, but the altercation resorted to the pair yelling at each other from across the room, with Cardi's main grievance being the judgment being placed upon her by Davies for being an exotic dancer before her time as a music artist. Like, where did that come from? Their career suffered dips in sales as their fans weren't sure what to make of the feud. Whose side should they be on? Well, things are better now, but their careers have never been the same. And those are the worst celebrity feuds that backfired. What did we miss? Let us know in the comments below. If you made it to the end of this video, good. Go call your enemies. See what's up.
Kicking off this countdown, number 10 is Justin Bieber and Orlando Bloom. I remember seeing articles about their physical altercation and just thinking how on earth it even happened in the first place. If you happen to miss these crazy headlines, they surfaced back in 2014 after the two gentlemen got into a tiff that led to punches being thrown. Video footage surfaced showing Orlando throwing a punch at Bieber's face during a night out in Ibiza, but Bieber's security team quickly pulled them apart before the argument spilled over into the streets. So what were they fighting about? A girl? Obviously. Orlando was married to Miranda Kerr, and for years there were rumors that Justin went on a date with her following a Victoria's Secret fashion show in 2012. So after their altercation, Justin threw some gasoline on the fire and posted a picture of Miranda in a bikini on his Instagram. That takes balls. Coming in next, number 9 is Cher and Donald Trump. This one isn't totally surprising because they are both people who will just say it how it is and not hold back. Back in 2012, they went after each other online and ended with Trump calling Cher a total loser. It all started after Cher took her political views to social media and shared her opinion on Republican Mitt Romney. From there, Trump got involved and sent out this tweet. He said, "Cher attacked Mitt Romney. She's an average talent who is out of touch with reality. Like Rosie O'Donnell, a total loser. Cher should stop with the bad plastic surgery and nasty statements about good people running for office." What does plastic surgery have anything to do with it, or Rosie O'Donnell? I'm confused. The feud continued after Cher started sending out her own tweets in response, and one of them claiming she will never go to Macy's again because they sold Donald Trump's line. And even years down the road, they still don't see eye to eye with one another. Cher started slamming him in 2019 for some of his comments and decisions as president. Cruising into number 8 is Chrissy Teigen and Allison Roman. It was just a few months ago in May 2020 when the New York Times food columnist made headlines for her controversial comments about Chrissy Teigen, who has her own growing cookbook and cookware line. In her comment, she implied that Chrissy was a sellout. People were quick to defend Chrissy and the work that she has put into her business. Chrissy responded to her remarks in a tweet and said, "This is a huge bummer and hit me hard. I have made her recipes for years now, bought the cookbooks, supported her on socials, and praised her during interviews." She ended her comments by tweeting at Allison, suggesting that they unfollow each other now. The feud didn't last long though. Allison did issue a public apology to Chrissy, saying that her comments were selfish and careless. In spot number 7 is Jonah Hill and Don Lemon. The CNN anchor Don Lemon had just finished election coverage and spent 6 hours in an airport when he ran into actor Jonah Hill at a hotel. When he approached the actor to tell him that he was a fan, apparently his handshake and response was not up to his standards. Don sent out a tweet saying, "Said hi to Jonah Hill in hotel. Think he thought I was Bellman. Didn't know his name until Bellman told me. A lesson to always be kind." Jonah responded over Twitter and said, I said hi, what do you want me to do, move in with you? I was in a hurry, didn't realize you were a 12-year-old girl. Peace. The two of them went back and forth in tweets just slamming one another, all over a handshake and like a 2-minute exchange. Probably less. Moving on to number 6 is Jane Fonda and Megyn Kelly. Jane went on Megyn's NBC talk show and was not pleased when Megyn brought up her plastic surgery and asked her a question about it. Jane has always been open with people about having work done, so Megyn didn't think her question would be an issue. Megyn spoke with Jane and said, "You admit you've had work done, which I thought is to your credit, but you look amazing. Why did you say, I read that you said you felt you were not proud to admit that you've had work done. Why not?" Jane's attitude completely changed and she deferred the focus onto something else, suggesting to Megyn that they talk about her new movie, Our Souls at Night, rather than talking about plastic surgery. She later explained that she thought it was the wrong time and place for the question to be asked and said that Megyn was not a good interviewer. Megyn gave her side of the situation and said her new movie was about aging, so she felt that it was appropriate and also a good opportunity for her to empower other women. But there was no convincing either of them. They were not able to see eye to eye on this. Halfway through, at number 5 is Jon Hamm and Kim Kardashian. The two of them seem to be on good terms while doing a live shoot together of 30 Rock. Even when he called her an effing idiot, they were able to laugh it off and she understood that it was just a joke. But she was not so forgiving when he criticized her later on in April's LUK issue. During the 2012 interview, he said, "Whether it's Kim Kardashian or Paris Hilton or whoever, stupidity is certainly celebrated." Kim handled it a lot better than most people thought she would and responded by saying everyone is entitled to their own opinions. But she did say that his opinion was careless because not everyone takes the same path in their career, and then she listed off the things that she does to prove that she couldn't have her success if she was, in fact, stupid. Rolling into number 4 is Kendall Jenner and Francis Cobain. It was rock versus reality TV back in 2013 when the two girls went after each other. It all came out of nowhere when Kendall sent out a tweet saying, "Just wish things could be easier sometimes, man." She wasn't looking to start a fight with anyone, but Francis created one by responding to her tweet in an aggressive manner. In response to Kendall's tweet, she said, "Oh shh, there are kids on earth abandoned and homeless who forcibly drink contaminated water because clean water isn't accessible. Oh yeah, not to mention cancer, famine, poverty, drought, disease, natural disasters. I'd like to thank my Grams for encouraging me not to be a self-absorbed idiot." Kendall ended up responding to her saying that she knows how blessed and privileged she is, but that she is still human with feelings too. Kendall wrote, "I know there are greater problems in the world. I pray for those people every night and give back as much as I can. So who are you to judge me?" What do you guys think? Whose side are you on? I feel like it was just very unnecessary. Just like let her tweet that. In the 3rd spot is Tyson Beckford and Kim Kardashian. Another one of Kim's feud has made it on this list, and that is never a good thing. In 2018, Tyson started body shaming Kim and her appearance on his Instagram, saying her body isn't real and that doctors messed up on her right hip. Kim clapped back at him and responded with, I quote, "Sis, we all know why you don't care for it." People immediately accused Kim of being homophobic, claiming that her comment was derogatory towards Tyson, who is openly gay. But Kim explained that her comment had nothing to do with sexuality and that she has great relationships with people in the LGBTQ community. It caused a storm online with different opinions, some people angry with the fact that he got away with body shaming and being the one to start the whole feud in the first place. Coming in next, number 2 is Gwyneth Paltrow and Martha Stewart. You probably wouldn't expect them to have issues with each other, but Martha felt some type of way about Gwyneth's lifestyle brand Goop. 5 years after it launched, Martha was asked about her thoughts on Gwyneth's entry into the lifestyle business. She said that Gwyneth is trying to be her and then called her a movie star, not a hard-working entrepreneur like her. She said, if Gwyneth were confident in her acting, she wouldn't be trying to be Martha Stewart. However, Gwyneth did seem confident when she responded to her, saying that she is psyched to see them as competition with one another. Fans were largely taking Martha's side though in this whole feud, saying that they actively follow Martha for cooking and lifestyle advice over Gwyneth because they do see her as a movie star. In our number 1 spot is Charlie Sheen and Rihanna. They haven't been on friendly terms since 2014 when they had a Twitter spat after he called her a B-word during an interview with Andy Cohen. Apparently, he and his then fiance ran into Rihanna at a restaurant and wanted to introduce his lady to Rihanna because she's a big fan. He claims that his request was denied by Rihanna, and then he went on Twitter to call her a princess and said that she thinks she's better than everyone else. Rihanna responded by changing her Twitter header to an image of her signing an autograph for a fan with Sheen's head superimposed. For years, he has slammed her name ever since this incident, but a few years later, in 2017, he did publicly apologize. He randomly tweeted out, "Dear Rihanna, pardon my insane self-indulgence, let's have a drink someday on me." She did not respond to this tweet, so I don't think they ever went for drinks.
Number 10. Taylor Swift versus Kanye West. That's right, these two are in a feud, and apparently it's lasted for quite some time. In 2009, Kanye interrupted Swift during MTV's Music Video Awards as she was in the middle of an acceptance speech for Best Female Music Video. While there was no altercation that took place on camera, over the next few months, the feud had become public, with Swift bashing Kanye's rude behavior during time specifically set aside for her. Kanye later apologized, and things seemed to be fine until 2015, when the rapper released a song called Famous, in which he said the line, where I'm paraphrasing of course, "I feel like me and Taylor may still make love. Why? I made that be famous." Swift was very vocal about her dislike for the song, and claimed that it was written to undermine her success. A few months later, Swift also put Kanye's wife, Kim Kardashian, on blast after the influencer had publicly approved of the song's lyrics. Joke's on them though, as they have just made enemies with a woman who fuels her soul with hatred. I wonder what she's gonna be cooking up for us right now. Number 9. Cardi B versus Aja Davies. In 2017, rapper Cardi B and model Aja Davies appeared on an episode of VH1's Love and Hip Hop talk show. Things became heated very quickly when the topic of Aja's ex-boyfriend Swift came up. According to Davies, she was convinced that Cardi B and Swift were intimate together while she was still dating Swift. Cardi responded to the accusation by throwing her stiletto at Aja's face. She then jumped up and began making her way towards the model, but was stopped by two large security guards. Good thing too, considering on the other side of the room, Aja had done the same thing and was also being held back. An all-out brawl almost took place, but the altercation resorted to the pair yelling at each other from across the room, with Cardi's main grievance being the judgment placed upon her by Davies for being an exotic dancer before her time as a music artist. While Davies claimed that wasn't the case, it was very clear from both their verbal and physical language that there was certainly some shade looming overhead. Number 8. Nicki Minaj versus Miley Cyrus. MTV. It's the channel that just continues to deliver us such juicy reality moments. MTV was, however, responsible for the inception of one of the greatest award shows of all time, the Video Music Awards. The ceremony celebrates the best and brightest of the music industry, but in 2015 things got a little extra juicy. Miley Cyrus, remembered fondly as Hannah Montana and remembered for riding a wrecking ball, was hosting the event that year. Rapper Nicki Minaj had just taken the stage after winning the Best Hip Hop Video Award, but quickly shifted the audience's attention from herself to the host, Miley. Minaj was calling Miley out for supposedly talking trash about her in a recent interview. She asked Miley what's good, and Miley responded. She kept her cool and explained that everyone in the industry knows that news outlets and interviewers can manipulate footage to make comments sound worse than they actually are. She then reminded the audience about her difficult to watch performance at the ceremony in 2008, and then threw an 80-foot picture up on the wall to emphasize her point. Minaj's mic was cut off, and Miley introduced the list of artists being nominated for Best Future Artist before leaving the stage. This wouldn't be the first time Nicki got into it with another celebrity though, and her feud with Miley has persisted ever since. Number 7. Hailey Bieber and Selena Gomez. Selena and Hailey share a feud. Reminds us of two kids in high school that just can't get along, only this time it's not just over a boy. Selena Gomez dated Canadian pop star Justin Bieber for quite some time throughout the 2010s. The relationship was rocky, and they would often split and get back together over and over again. He had been friends with Hailey Baldwin for a few years, with the relationship apparently becoming romantic at one point. While initially this was the cause of the feud between these two, more recently there seems to be a more personal reason for their hatred. A TikTok user posted a side-by-side comparison video of Hailey and Selena to show just how much Hailey had been copying Miss Gomez. There were photos of them wearing similar outfits. They also compared the coincidence of Haley starting a YouTube cooking series called What's in My Kitchen when Selena had just released an HBO Max cooking show called Selena Plus Chef. Gomez was quick to thank fans for acknowledging the strange copycat behavior and let the world know that she was well aware of the similarities that began to arise and she was not having any of it. Number 6. Olivia Rodrigo and Sabrina Carpenter. Olivia Rodrigo and Joshua Bassett co-starred on the Disney Plus series High School Musical, the series. God, that's a terrible title. During their time on set, they developed a relationship that apparently did not end well, and it may have something to do with one Miss Sabrina Carpenter. The Bizarre Varks alum made headlines in January 2021 after releasing her debut single, Driver's License. The hit song resonated with Rodrigo's fans, including Taylor Swift, but it also caused some to think that it was about the rumored drama between her, Bassett, and Carpenter. Her lyrics were, "And you were probably with the blonde girl who always made me doubt. She's so much older than me. She's everything I'm insecure about." The main reason people think this is a dig at Carpenter is because initially the lyrics were the brunette girl, not blonde, apparently changing it following the news of Sabrina's relationship with Bassett. Sabrina and Olivia basically started a singing roast battle. Apparently they began releasing songs around the same time as each other, including topics of like liars, cheaters, jealousy, all that jazz. It looks like this feud will be fueling quite a few hit songs in the near future. Number 5. Cardi B versus Nicki Minaj. This feud has just been full of juicy moments that we love to watch. A few years ago at a Fashion Week event in New York City, Cardi B and Nicki Minaj appeared at separate times being photographed in stunning gowns on the streets of NYC. However, when the two crossed paths inside the building, things escalated quickly. According to witnesses, Nicki purposely stepped on Cardi's dress before spouting some nasty words about Cardi's baby daughter. Hey, first rule of trashing someone who's a parent, leave the kids out of it. Cardi blew up naturally. She stumbled as she tried to run across the room, once again being held back by bodyguards. But this time, she got through. After a moment of calm, Cardi lunged at Nicki, but is quickly blocked by her own security team, who must have made contact with Cardi because photos taken of her leaving the event show a nasty bump forming on her forehead. That wasn't the end though, as Cardi then began to remove her shoes and fling it at Nicki from across the room. She's like Hawkeye with a shoe, I swear. Nicki and her team kept the shoe as Exhibit A should they ever need to open a lawsuit for the incident. No charges were ever brought to light, but these two have been in a public feud ever since. Number 4. Isaiah Washington versus the Grey's Anatomy cast. Grey's Anatomy is a TV drama centered on the personal and professional lives of 5 surgical interns and their supervisors. The show garnered a massive fan base and was on air for over 420 episodes. For 62 of those episodes, a man named Isaiah Washington portrayed the character of Dr. Preston Burke. Following his departure from the series, Isaiah took to social media to call out his cast and crew of Grey's Anatomy for creating a hostile work environment. It was revealed that apparently Isaiah himself was responsible for the so-called hostility. He had started multiple feuds with fellow cast members, including a physical altercation with Patrick Dempsey on set, using homophobic slurs against T.R. Knight, and throwing shade at Katherine Heigl for throwing shade at him for using the slur. Needless to say, this is a very one-sided feud, as the Grey's producers just simply shut the door in his face and told him to take a hike. Number 3. Kanye West and Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson was the youngest cast member on SNL when he was hired at the age of 20. In 2021, Kim Kardashian hosted an episode of the show and starred in a sketch with Pete, parodying A Whole New World from the Disney film Aladdin. The sketch was okay, but apparently sitting that close to each other all week really got them going. At the time, Kim was still involved with rapper Kanye West, who was actually attending the live show, but apparently stormed out of the room following her scene with Pete. Apparently Kanye had been present at rehearsals all week, and he remembers regularly seeing Pete and Kim smiling and laughing together while he was being ignored entirely. Kim and Kanye began their divorce process not long after that, and simultaneously Pete announced that him and Kim were official. Since then, Kanye has publicly bashed both his ex and Pete for their actions and has been in a pretty big feud with him. Oh, was little Kanye mad? Oh well, sucks to suck. Number 2. Jerry the King Lawler and Andy Kaufman. Jerry the King Lawler was a professional wrestler between the 1970s and late 80s. Andy Kaufman was a comedian and a regular star of the legendary sitcom Taxi, yet somehow their paths seemed destined to cross. On an episode of The Late Show with David Letterman in 1982, Jerry and Andy were brought on to share the stage after a feud between the two had become public. Kaufman wanted to make his name more popular and did so by attempting to join join the World Wrestling the Entertainment Company. He eventually wiggled his way into the ring, and producers felt Lawler and Kaufman would make nice on-screen enemies. Lawler was old school and Kaufman was a wacky comedian who did not belong between the ropes. A few months before the interview took place, the two fought in a one-on-one match, and Lawler pile-drived Kaufman into a mat twice, the second of which left Kaufman limp and in need of hospital. On Letterman, Kaufman was sporting a neck brace and appeared to be in enormous amounts of pain. The interview was meant to act as a reconciler for the pair, but instead devolved into shouting, slapping, and the threatening of a lawsuit. Their feud lasted for several years until Kaufman passed away in 1984. Number 1, Will Smith versus Chris Rock. Alright, let's just get this one out of the way. In 2022, Chris Rock was hosting the 94th annual Oscar ceremony when he decided to make a little joke about Jada Pinkett Smith and her hair. Rock expressed his excitement to see Jada in a fictional G.I. Jane movie, but immediately following the joke, which landed for everyone else in the audience, Rock stood in confusion as Will Smith made his way towards the stage. Will adjusted his jacket, he took a firm stance, and then he just clocked Chris right across the face. He winded up his hand first to conjure the ultimate force. Initially being seen as a planned joke between the two, Will then began shouting several times at Rock to keep his wife's name out of his flippin' mouth. Now Chris handled the situation very well. He kept his cool, he laughed it off, and brought out the next award presenters. He was professional and quick to get the night back on track, but unfortunately an hour later Will Smith won the Oscars for Best Actor in a Leading Role. He played Richard Williams, the father of tennis superstars Venus and Serena Williams, and during his speech he gave a half-hearted apology for his actions before claiming the situation was due to his months of portraying the father on set, leaving him with an extreme paternal sense to protect his family. Unfortunately for Will, the slap was enough to get him banned from the Oscars indefinitely. Chris later took to Twitter to share his thoughts on the event, calling Will's actions unnecessary and aggressive. It would appear that getting smacked on live TV isn't something Rock can just forgive. So yeah, this is like the least surprising feud on the list.
Starting us off at number 10 is Mason Disick and Jeffree Star. First of all, isn't Mason Disick like 9 years old? How the hell did he end up in a feud with the biggest YouTube beauty guru in the world? I'm confused. Here's what happened. For starters, Mason Disick is Kourtney Kardashian's oldest son, in case you did not know who he is. He recently started a fire in March 2020 when he went online and called Jeffree Star spoiled AF. But Jeffree fired back at him even though he is in fact, guys, 10 years old. Jeffree responded by a tweet and said, "I had $500 in my bank account 6 years ago. Maybe he's confused with his own privilege versus mine being self-made. Hopefully his father can educate him soon." Mason's dad is actually Scott Disick, who goes by the name Lord Disick, so the likelihood of that happening is probably pretty slim. Coming in next, number 9 is Miley Cyrus and Nicki Minaj. We didn't really know about the feud until the very awkward public exchange they had at the 2015 MTV Music Video Awards. Miley was hosting the award show, but at one point Nicki was on stage saying her part and finished by saying, "And now back to the bitch that had a lot to say about me in the press. Miley, what's good?" You could tell that Miley was completely thrown off by the comment, and the spotlight awkwardly went to Miley and just faded out from Nicki. It was super uncomfortable. Turns out that articles were saying Miley had said some rude things about Nicki in the press earlier that week. But Miley ended up saying on stage, to kind of clear her name, that news outlets tend to twist the words of other celebrities and that she actually has no issue with Nicki. Sliding into number 8 is Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson. The majority of us probably thought they would be like brothers after filming together in Fast 5, but by the end of the movie series they strongly disliked each other. While they were filming the 8th movie of the franchise, Dwayne posted on social media saying he is dealing with a candy ass on set. Fans were confused at first because we didn't really expect there to be so much tension to a point where you're writing about it on social media. There were rumors going around at that time about these two fighting, so people just kind of quickly pieced that together. Dwayne later spoke about it and said he has put it behind him, and apparently their tension was so bad at some points that they actually requested stand-ins to film some of their scenes. Rolling to number 7, we have Chelsea Handler and Angelina Jolie. To be honest, I didn't even know that they had beef with each other, so that is how unexpected this one is for me personally. The tiff came after news broke of Angelina and Brad Pitt's divorce. Apparently Chelsea was not okay with their decision, and she did not hesitate to express her thoughts on it. She spoke spoke about it and called Angelina a effing lunatic. It was later revealed that she had a personal issue with her because she once fooled around with her friend's man, referring to Brad Pitt's ex Jennifer Aniston, who is friends with Chelsea. But Chelsea later felt bad for her comments and said, "I'm upset that I was so upset with Angelina Jolie. I realize she is probably just trying to do her best too." Isn't that sweet? Yeah, you had really no say in their divorce, but okay. Up next, number 6 is Lady Gaga and Kelly Osbourne. Such a random pair of people to have an issue with each other. Like, do they even know each other well enough to have a problem? The battle between them started in 2009 when Kelly called Gaga a butterface on her show Fashion Police. Gaga responded with an open letter telling her that her show criticizes and rates people's beauty and that is wrong. The feud was ongoing for years until 2013 when Gaga tried to make a peace offering. The singer made an appearance in October on the X Factor UK, where she gave Sharon Osbourne, who was a judge, a cake to celebrate her daughter's birthday. Kelly was turning 29 and it just so happened to fall on that same day. Sharon and Gaga even took a smiling picture together with the cake, but Kelly did not accept it and wrote on Twitter, "Not to be ungrateful, but why would you send me a birthday cake via my mother in a country half the world away?" She then posted a picture of the cake to her Instagram with the hashtags "Eat my poo" and hashtag hypocrisy. But Gaga ended the feud and responded with kindness, God bless her soul, and she tweeted, "I didn't know it was your birthday until this afternoon, meant as a peace offering, happy birthday." God bless Gaga, are you kidding me? I would just take that cake home and eat it myself. Halfway through the list is Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall. All the Sex and the City girls seem to be like sisters from the outside looking in. But early in the TV series there were rumors going around that these two did not get along. In 2004, Kim admitted that money had something to do with it, revealing that Sarah received a higher salary, and when they did not agree with her financial demand, she quit the show. Down the road in 2017, Daily Mail reported that the third Sex and the City movie was cancelled because of Kim, stating that Warner Brothers refused to meet her demands and had to cancel production, despite the other girls being on board for another movie, and fans obviously very excited about it. Sarah has always said that Kim was a close friend to her, but there seems to be some weird disconnect because Kim told Piers Morgan that the other girls were always just colleagues to her. That's so awkward. We've made it to number 4 and we have Howard Stern and Lena Dunham. The whole thing seemed to be one-sided after Howard completely dissed her on his radio show back in 2013. He was talking about the actress and her HBO show Girls and said, "It's a little fat girl who kinda looks like Jonah Hill and she keeps taking her clothes off and it kinda feels like I don't want to see that." The whole comment was honestly like very unnecessary, not sure where it came from, but Lena was able to laugh it off later on, and she actually called into his show to talk about it after he apologized though. He did end up apologizing for that random comment, and they were able to kind of shake it off. Taking over the third spot is Chloe Grace Moretz and Kim Kardashian. Another random feud that happened on Twitter and lasted way longer than it needed to. It started after Kim posted a nude mirror selfie on her social media pages. The selfie was obviously a little censored, but Chloe did not approve of her post and made sure everyone knew about it. Chloe commented on her post and wrote, "I truly hope you realize how important setting goals are for young women, teaching them we have so much more to offer than our bodies." Kim quickly fired back, pointing out that Chloe posed nude for her Nylon magazine cover shoot. Side note, she was actually wearing a jacket over her body, but she is nude underneath. So yeah. Kim tweeted in response saying, "Let's all welcome Chloe Moretz to Twitter since no one knows who she is. Your nylon cover is cute, boo." Kim's family even got involved after that, and Khloe Kardashian started tweeting at her too, and honestly it was just Twitter chaos. Taking over the number 2 spot is Neil Patrick Harris and James Woods. Neil posted a photo of an 8-year-old boy with his family at Pride, and James tweeted a response that was incredibly inappropriate and offensive. He tweeted, "This is sweet. Wait until this poor kid grows up, realizes what you've done, and stuffs both of you dismembered into a freezer bag in the garage." I mean, who in their right mind says something like that to someone? Like, to me, the only type of person to say something like that is someone who would dismember someone and stick them in the freezer. That is crazy. Neil responded by calling him utterly ignorant and classless and said that he should be ashamed of himself. Turns out, Neil was actually very close with the young boy's family, which is why he took that photo with him. In the number 1 spot is Ariana Grande and Piers Morgan. The pop star picked a bone with him back in 2018 after he criticized Ellen DeGeneres, claiming that she drools over famous men's bodies and how if he did that towards women, he would be called a pig. He also went after Little Mix and said that they use nudity to sell their records, not their talent. Ariana Grande got involved by sticking up for Ellen even though the comments had nothing to do with her. She tweeted at him saying, "Ellen is an incredible and kind human being. I use my talent and my sexuality all the time because I choose to. Women can be sexual and talented, naked and dignified. It's our choice. And we will keep fighting till people understand. I say this with all due respect, but thank you. Next." The two of them battled it out for a bit in tweets, but later admitted that they had a civil conversation and worked it all out.
At number 10, The Weeknd and the Grammys. The Grammys are one of the most prestigious awards in the music industry. Pretty much every artist dreams of one day receiving one, and they probably don't want to put their chances of receiving one in jeopardy. One artist, however, isn't interested in being on the Grammys' good side and would rather fight them than be friends. Singer The Weeknd announced that he would be boycotting the Grammys for the foreseeable future due to the unfairness of the awards. It is alleged that there are secret committees within the Academy who decide who gets nominated and who wins awards, and this has been the subject of the feud between The Weeknd and the Grammys. These allegations stem from the revelations made by former chief executive Deborah Duggan, who filed a 44-page complaint about the Grammys where she cited, quote, "The Grammys voting process is ripe with corruption. Members of the board of trustees and the secret committees choose artists with whom they have personal or business relationships," end quote. After his 2020 song Blinding Lights was snubbed of any nominations, The Weeknd blamed the alleged corruption for his snub, and he and the Academy have been in a war of words, so to speak, ever since. Other than the allegations of corruption within the Academy, The Weeknd also alleges that he was locked out of Grammy nominations because he decided to perform at the Super Bowl. Because of this music conspiracy, the singer released a statement in March of this year that read, quote, "Because of the secret committees, I will no longer allow my label to submit my music to the Grammys," end quote. At number 9, James Charles and Asian Doll. It's a little embarrassing for celebrities to get dragged online for something as petty as a Twitter feud. Like, imagine trying to clap back at someone just for them to clap back even harder, leaving the internet laughing at you. This is pretty much what happened between James Charles and rapper Asian Doll. It all started when the rapper tweeted out about makeup artist prices, where she said, quote, "If you charge over $150 to do a face of makeup, then you can go to hell respectively." James saw this tweet and it frustrated him a bit to the point where he felt the need to respond, saying, quote, "What a stupid tweet. One foundation can cost $50, artists have to buy every shade for their kit, and that's just the first step. It's expensive to work as a makeup artist. Either pay an artist rate for their time and skill, or do it yourself, or get it done at a counter and risk looking busted," end quote. Asian Doll saw his reply and basically clapped back with a "nobody asked you" sort of message, where she basically made a dig at his flashback Mary look. The rapper tweeted saying, quote, "What a dumbass to be in my business replying to something that has absolutely nothing to do with you. I'm having a debate about hood prices, baby. Stay over there in Hollywood where they have you looking like a ghost," end quote. This little Twitter feud had fans laughing and memeing the whole situation and criticized James for even jumping into the conversation in the first place. Now, before carrying on with the list, I'd like to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and also check out my gaming channel, Viper Girl, and hit that subscribe button while you're there. At number 8, Meghan Markle and Kate Middleton. After their bombshell Oprah interview, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have been scrutinized for a lot of what they spoke about. One of the biggest things people are talking about in regards to their interview is their relationship with the rest of their family. According to sources, the most strained relationships are those between Meghan Markle and Kate Middleton, as well as Prince Harry and his brother William. Meghan and Kate have reportedly been on poor terms for a long time, with some sources saying that they haven't spoken to each other in over a year. During the interview, Meghan addressed the public's view on her feud with Kate over Princess Charlotte's dress at Meghan's wedding, saying that Kate made her cry over it. Though they eventually patched things up and Kate apologized, they haven't been on speaking terms, not because of anything personal, but because of the feud between their husbands. There doesn't seem to be a lot of hate between Meg and Kate, but there seems to be a lot of tension since their partners aren't on good terms with each other. A source explained Meghan and Kate's situation in a statement, saying, quote, "There is real animosity that the brothers have towards one another, and that has spilled over to Meghan and Kate's relationship, making it very hard for them to be friends or even friendly," end quote. Hopefully they can one day patch things up for the sake of being rid of this negative energy. At number 7, Addison Rae and Bryce Hall. Two of TikTok's biggest stars and former power couple Addison Rae and Bryce Hall have been feuding with each other ever since their messy breakup just a few weeks ago. In March of this year, there were reports that the couple had split up for the second time after their relationship was bombarded with cheating rumors and scandals. These rumors first came about during a Zoom call with some of her fans where Addison revealed that she and Bryce had been fighting, and so these rumors got off the ground and started circulating. Shortly after that, Addison made a cryptic Instagram post about how she wanted to keep some of the things she's dealing with away from the public eye. There was some speculation that this had something to do with Bryce, and this theory was embraced by more followers as they started to notice that some of Bryce and Addison's couple pictures had been removed from social media. Later, their breakup was finally addressed with a simple confirmation of their split. We don't know why they broke up or if the cheating rumors are true, but they are on and off again, so their feuding and fighting may only last a short amount of time, but we shall see. At number 6, Tana Mongeau and Cole Kerrigan. Influencers Tana Mongeau and Cole Kerrigan have been caught in a feud after Cole alleged that Tana hacked his social media accounts and tried to sue him for $100,000. It all started when Cole put Tana on blast by sharing a screenshot of a cease and desist text allegedly sent by Tana's lawyer. The text essentially warned Cole that he was in violation of a contract he had signed with Tana and that a breach of contract would subject him to pay $100,000. The contract, it is alleged that Tana has her circle of friends sign a non-disclosure agreement each year, and so now Cole is in trouble after one of his social media posts violated the terms of said contract. Now on top of this lawsuit, Cole also claims that Tana hired someone to hack his social media accounts, where they were able to delete a number of accounts like his YouTube channel and Twitter account. Cole claims that all of this drama is because he is one of the only people that Tana knows who isn't afraid to speak out about her. Cole has also claimed that Tana has kicked him out of her house, used him for free makeup services, and would even go through his personal belongings when he wasn't home. There haven't been many updates on this feud, but I'm sure that this is far from over. At number 5, Bad Baby and Dr. Phil. If you're a fan of the show Dr. Phil, then you may be familiar with Danielle Bregoli, aka the Cash Me Outside girl. Danielle, now known as rapper Bad Baby, was on the show because her mother was struggling to help her with her behavioral issues. As a result of her time on the show, Dr. Phil referred Danielle to a reform camp of sorts called Turnabout Ranch. The ranch is supposed to be a teen residential facility where they rehabilitate troubled teens. Well, recently Danielle came out to talk about her experiences at the ranch, recounting the abuse that she endured there and calling Dr. Phil out on recommending such a horrific place. The rapper claimed that she was apprehended by workers in the middle of the night, taken from her home and transported to the ranch where she was forced to stay awake for 3 days. She also spoke out about the facility's use of restraints on teens in attendance and how many other attendees cited many instances of abuse while at the ranch. Danielle spoke out about her experiences in her YouTube video, and she spoke directly to Dr. Phil condemning his support for such a place and warned him that if he doesn't take accountability that she would, quote, handle things her way. As of right now, Dr. Phil has yet to comment on the situation, but I'm sure that Danielle is planning her fight for justice. At number 4, Sabrina Carpenter and Olivia Rodrigo. One of the hottest songs out there right now is Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo, and though it is seen as the breakup anthem of 2021, it's also got a huge backstory and a huge feud surrounding it. Essentially, Olivia wrote Driver's License after her breakup with her High School Musical, the musical, the series co-star Joshua Bassett. Apparently, this was a very messy breakup that turned into a very messy love triangle after actress Sabrina Carpenter was brought into the mix and started dating Joshua. Are you following? Okay, so Olivia releases the song with a few nods to Joshua's new relationship with Sabrina. Next, in response to Olivia's song, Joshua releases a few songs of his own, including one called Lie Lie Lie. And then, Sabrina released a song of her own that included references to Olivia, as the song was about getting into a new relationship while an ex watches on. Now, no one is saying anything directly, and it is a very read between the lines kind of situation, but it's still very messy and fans are obsessed. It could all be for PR or maybe not, but it is certainly a very juicy story. At number 3, Prince Harry and Prince William. One of the biggest feuds on this list is one that I briefly mentioned before. Prince Harry and Prince William have been feuding for years, but with his exit from the royal family as well as his bombshell interview with Oprah, things may have gotten even more tense. The brothers have always had a strained relationship even when growing up. It is said that William adopted a more serious attitude, being the one destined for the throne, and Harry was more laid back and carefree. These two personalities apparently clashed a lot growing up and remains difficult to this day. Now, with the added strain on the family following Harry and Meghan's interview, William is reportedly furious with his brother. According to sources, William is struggling to hold back his side of the story, as the Queen has said that they would be handling the situation privately. Sources say that William is looking to defend his wife Kate, as well as clear up any rumors surrounding racial allegations within the family. Harry and William haven't spoken in a long time according to sources, and I don't really think they will be anytime soon. At number 2, Sharon Osbourne and Cheryl Underwood. After becoming friends on The View, Sharon Osbourne and Cheryl Underwood are now feuding with each other after they got into a very heated argument surrounding Piers Morgan's remarks about Meghan Markle. Sharon backed up Piers' comments about Meghan Markle's mental health, and this frustrated Cheryl. The two got into a very heated debate that ended with Sharon in tears, but this also sparked a conversation about Sharon's ideals. She was called a racist, and a number of other accusations came out about how she has used various slurs in the past when talking about her other co-hosts. As a result of this, Sharon was fired from the show and an internal investigation was launched. Cheryl said that she and Sharon were good friends, but because of this feud, they haven't spoken to each other. Sharon said that she tried sending Cheryl an apology text, but it went unanswered. We don't know if they'll make up, but it might be too soon to tell. And finally, at number 1, Conor McGregor and Jake Paul. Now I'm gonna keep this one short and sweet because there is just so much pettiness and I can't handle it. Basically, there is a one-sided feud between Conor McGregor and Jake Paul. Jake wants to fight Conor, and Conor's like, meh. Jake has been seen all over social media antagonizing, posting videos, and calling him names, and even bribing the guy with a $50 million check. Really, it's very childish, playground-type drama that no one besides Jake really has the time for. After all his antagonizing, nothing really ever came of it. Conor hasn't fought Jake and probably never will because of how annoying he is. Sorry to all the Jake Paul fans, but you kinda have to admit he's gone a little too far with this one, right? Now I want you guys to tell me about the biggest celebrity feud that you know about. It can be recent or years old, but I know there are some juicy ones, so let me know down in the comments.
Number 10, Leah Remini. Morning talk shows seem to have a new host popping in and out every season. Shows like The View and The Talk are known for having a revolving door policy when it comes to their hosts. For one reason or another, many hosts have been fired over the years, from on-screen altercations to backstage drama. For King of Queens alumni Leah Remini, she was fired due to an issue stemming from fellow host Sharon Osbourne. Remini premiered in season 1 of the show, demonstrating blunt honesty and a certain laid-back style of conversation. According to Leah, Sharon Osbourne did not like that at all. Not only was Leah fired after the first season, but her fellow co-host Holly Robinson Pete was also let go for little to no reason. However, Remini posted on her Twitter page calling Sharon out for having too much power on the show, alleging that she knew Sharon had a hand in herself and Holly being let go from the program. Leah claimed that herself and Holly were just too street for Sharon's liking. They weren't funny enough or awkward enough to make good TV. Sharon has denied those allegations to this day, and no one has spoken to each other in person since the firing. Number 9. Shanine Doherty. Unfortunately for Shanine, she gained quite the reputation in Hollywood for being fired due to an issue with her co-star. She may or may not be making another appearance on this list. I guess you'll just have to stick around and find out. For the first entry though, we're looking back to a very popular series, teen drama 90210. The series following the lives of the Walsh family as they moved from Minneapolis to Beverly Hills. Doherty played the character Brenda Walsh, with her character eventually befriending several students at Beverly Hills High, including Donna Martin, played by Tori Spelling. The series was a hit after its initial season, however, with increased popularity came massive ego boosts. Doherty and Spelling started clashing on set all of the time, adding additional drama to the production team that they really did not need. Considering Tori's father, Aaron Spelling, was the producer on the show, it's pretty simple to piece together what happened. Doherty claims that she was officially let go for having a haircut that messed up the continuity of the show, but a wig could have fixed that, so you better believe Tori Spelling told her papa to boot her from the series. Number 8. Lindsay Lohan. In the early 2000s, Lindsay Lohan faced a ton of public scandals, but one that's not talked about often enough actually took place behind the scenes of a TV show called Ugly Betty. Lohan was a guest star on the show in the 3rd season, playing Kimmy Keegan. Kimmy was supposed to stick around for 6 total episodes, but eventually that number was shrunken down to 4, the reason being that her co-star and the lead of the show, America Ferrera, just did not get along with Lindsay on set. According to America, and actually quite a few of the Ugly Betty crew, Lindsay would show up with an entourage of people and usually under the influence of herbs and spices, and the production crew had to literally repaint her dressing room when she left because it was so messed up. One crew member alleged that she would cut images of her own face out of magazines and tabloid articles like she were making a collage or something. That sounds a little made up, but not out of the realm of possibility. America claims that one scene took over 30 takes to get right because they just kept flubbing their lines. Lindsay's team of buddies have been adamant that America had too much power and was the sole reason that she was asked to leave the show. Unfortunately, if you do bad things and enough people know about it, karma just kinda comes back around. Number 7. Selma Blair. It's funny that this entry involves Charlie Sheen getting a woman fired when he himself has been fired from several projects and for a few reasons. After being fired from 2.5 Men, Sheen returned to the acting world headlining his own show called Anger Management. It premiered in 2012 with the cast featuring Hellboy alumni Selma Blair, playing his colleague and friend with benefits on the show. However, Sheen's terrible behavior continued to haunt him from his 2.5 Men days. Blair was very vocal on her problems with Charlie, especially his messy work ethic. Charlie heard about this and he was having none of it. He threatened to quit the show if Blair was going to remain a part of the cast. Sheen got his way and Blair was let go after starring in just 54 episodes. The show didn't last long though. Who would have guessed that a messy actor being the lead was a bad idea? The show was ultimately canceled in 2014. Number 6. Aaron Hayes. The King of Queens was arguably the peak of Kevin James and his comedy. For 9 seasons, people tuned in to see Kevin and his on-screen wife, Leah Remini, deliver entertaining banter and genuinely memorable moments as their chemistry together was electric. Kevin made another move into the world of sitcoms in 2016 when the show Kevin Can't Wait premiered. Another family-style sitcom, only this time Kevin was paired with actress Aaron Hayes. While she was not a bad actor in the slightest, it was a special guest appearance from Leah Remini that sealed her fate. She appeared in the season 1 finale and their chemistry was still so strong that it was announced that Hayes' character would be written off the show and literally had her character tragically pass away. At the same time, Remini was announced as a new series regular beginning in season 2. Though the show cited that firing Aaron was purely a creative choice and in no way was reflected in her abilities as a performer, the firing then sudden hiring of his co-star from the past is just a little bit of a coincidence. Just a little bit. Aaron has never given a reason to believe that the studio was lying and has continued to have a pretty solid career, but luckily for her, season 2 tanked and the show was ultimately canceled in 2018. Number 5. Bruce Willis. Before Bruce quit the acting business for good, he was part of some of the best action films of all time. The Try Hard series, The Fifth Element, and of course the first 2 Expendables movies. The Expendables is a stellar action series that sees Hollywood's most legendary leading men come together in one epic showdown. The first film was written and directed by Rocky himself, Sylvester Stallone, and he called in all of the favors. The cast included Jet Li, Jason Statham, Dolph Lundgren, and so many more, including Bruce Willis. Unfortunately, he was fired from the 3rd film in the franchise following a dispute with Sylvester involving his contract. Before the truth broke, Sylvester tweeted that he had great news, Bruce Willis was out and Harrison Ford was in for Expendables 3. And a few minutes later, he followed it up by simply writing greedy and lazy, a sure formula for career failure. It was pretty obvious that something went down behind the scenes, and it was rumored that Willis had asked for over $1 million per day to film the 3rd movie. Despite their off-screen argument and Bruce's recasting, the two were able to reconnect and squash their beef for good. Number 4. Stacey Dash. While a ton of firing stories end with allegations, the situation between Lisa Ray McCoy and Stacey Dash is actually pretty straightforward. McCoy had Dash fired from their show. That's it. During the first season of the VH1 series Single Ladies, the 2 actresses clashed on basically everything, which led to McCoy taking action. She admitted to having a hand in getting her co-star fired before the start of the 2nd season. In an interview with Vibe, she stated that in Hollywood she learned to be a boss. She had to say to Stacey, "Get your mother flippin' finger out of my face," which was the final breaking point. For the 2nd season of the show, a replacement was brought in for Miss Dash, who went on to star in some other stuff. Number 3. Rose McGowan. So let's talk about the show Charmed for a second. It was a solid series that was on air for almost 10 years. The series followed three sisters that discover they are descendants of a line of female witches and are destined to fight against the forces of evil. It was a fun show, however, just because you play sisters on set doesn't mean that you're going to be close in real life. Rose McGowan and Alyssa Milano had a very public altercation that resulted in a little incident on set being shared with the entire world. Rose claimed that Alyssa threw a fit in front of the crew, yelling that they didn't pay her enough to do the things she was doing, and she didn't say the thing she was doing, she said a swear word. She called Alyssa's behavior appalling and claimed that she cried every time the show would get renewed for another season because it just meant more time on a toxic set with Alyssa. Alyssa never shared her own comments on the situation, basically confirming what she was being accused of. Number 2, Bill Murray. Sony's big first move into the world of Charlie's Angels was actually fantastic. The first round of films starred Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu as the titular angels. They were filled with action, a little bit of comedy, and just one of the strangest performances ever delivered from Crispin Glover. I mean, that dude does a lot of weird stuff. One interesting addition to the cast was the inclusion of Ghostbusters alumni Bill Murray as Bosley, their boss. Apparently the set was anything but a comedy though, after Bill found out that a scene was rewritten while he was away. In an interview with the news outlet Deadline, Lucy Liu spoke up about her time on set and the situation with Bill. Apparently Bill was away for a family event when a scene needed to be refilmed. Instead of using a stand-in, it was decided that the scene could be filmed without Murray's character even being involved, so it went on without him. When he returned to find that the changes were made while he was gone, he was furious and just shouted at everyone, including Lucy. At first, she wasn't sure why he was aiming his comments at her. She didn't do anything, she didn't write it, right? She asked if Bill was specifically speaking to her, and apparently that just set him off. She decided to speak out on Bill's behavior on set, and he was ultimately written out of the sequel. Lucy is awesome for speaking her mind, despite being a relatively unknown actor at the time, and so far she seems pretty glad that Bill's career is suffering for it, because Lucy was just the first of many celebrities to comment on his behavior, but we'll talk about that another time. Number 1, Janet Hubert. Will Smith got his big break in the acting world thanks to his time on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The show followed him as the titular prince living with his wealthy family in Bel-Air, surrounded by cousins, uncles, and Aunt Viv. In season 1, Aunt Viv was played by a woman named Janet Hubert Witten, but as a lot of people know, in season 2 she was recasted after an on-set feud with Will went a bit too far. According to Will, Janet just viewed him as an antagonist in her life. She had been in a business for years when suddenly Will Smith popped in. She held this tinge of jealousy towards him because he just kinda came to town, got a job, and boom, that was it. Well, hey, that's what happens when you're good at your job, right? She was trying to convince the producers to give her character more time and allow her to breathe, but they said no, because it's not the Aunt Viv show, it's the Fresh Prince show. She fought back hard, but it was ultimately decided that she was gonna be asked to sit out of the rest of the series and be replaced by Daphne Maxwell Reid, who we all know and love as the real Aunt Viv. Number 10, Nicki Minaj and Mariah Carey. The feud between these two was swift and difficult to hide. In 2012, Mariah and Nicki were co-judges on the singing competition American Idol, and despite functioning on somewhat the same page, things actually went sour very fast. Over a span of just a few short weeks, American Idol became a desolate wasteland of insults, swear words, and a ton of threats. Yeah, things got pretty heated. According to people that worked on set of the show, Mariah was the one making fun of Nicki, saying mean little comments every time they sat next to each other. She was always saying that Nicki couldn't sing and felt that she should not be judging others on their ability. Some other people claim the opposite is the case, but hey, who really knows? I wasn't on the set. What we do know is that things got so heated that Nicki stormed off set one day, threatening to physically harm Mariah as she did. In 2013, they must have had enough of each other as they both decided to quit the show and go their separate ways. Number 9, Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey. So let's get geeky for a second and talk about the movie Batman Forever. This movie was a failure from the moment the studio decided to fight Tim Burton on his vision. They recasted Michael Keaton, shifted the dark undertone, and turned the whole thing into a big live-action cartoon. Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones played the villains of the piece, the Riddler and Two-Face respectively. For Tommy, the set was nothing but a pain in the neck. According to Tommy and several of the people on set, himself and Jim would argue with each other constantly. He just hated Jim's improv, his goofy attitude, and his overall energetic performance. Now, he literally called Jim a buffoon following the film's release. Despite working very well together on screen, off screen, they were counting down the hours until production wrapped. Number 8. Freddie Prinze Jr. and Kiefer Sutherland. Kiefer is a man known for his roles in movies like Lost Boys or Stand By Me, and he's built himself a nice little nest egg. For a long time he was starring in crime drama 24. A lot of celebrities made small cameos and recurring roles on that show, but in 2010, Scooby-Doo alumni Freddie Prinze Jr., and yes, I know he's been in other stuff, but that's how I know him, was casted as Cole Ortiz. Despite the massive success of the show, the job actually left him scarred and admitting that he hated every second of it. According to Freddie, Kiefer is just an unprofessional dude that he hated working with. Continuing to say that he wasn't talking trash, this was just something that he would happily say to Kiefer's face. Apparently, a ton of his co-stars agreed that he makes filming a living nightmare. Following the end of his character's time on the show, he did slow down in acting, now limiting himself to voiceover and cameo roles, and the odd thing was that while there was some backing up to Freddie's story, there were a lot of people defending Sutherland, claiming the exact opposite things had happened to them. Some say that he's the most professional man in the world, and some say that he is someone you gotta watch out for, so I don't know, let's get some hashtags going. Hashtag Kiefer good, bad, see which one wins. Number 7. Chevy Chase and Donald Glover. Chevy Chase became a popular man after being involved with National Lampoon and Saturday Night Live way back in the day, but he returned to the mainstream when he starred as Pierce Hawthorne in Community. I genuinely love this show, and Chevy, it got better when he left. It would appear that his Community co-stars would agree with that statement. Around the middle of the show, Chevy started to complain about his co-stars, especially Donald Glover. It became apparent that he was just angry with him and was eventually fired for using racial slurs against him. According to Donald himself, aka Troy Barnes, Chevy would often make inappropriate jokes either aimed right at him or just as a general way to disrupt a scene. Joel McHale, who played Jeff Winger, told people that before he was fired, Chevy was complaining about his character's position on the show and how he was being portrayed. Well, the entire cast reminded him that there wasn't anything that actually was keeping him there, which might have been part of what set him off. His character was written out of the show in humiliating fashion, and I'm not gonna spoil it for you. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. He feeds some geese for just a bit too long, if you know what I mean. Number 6. Wesley Snipes and Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds is known for a lot of things. One of his most iconic roles as an actor is of course the Merc with the Mouth, Deadpool himself. However, in 2008, Ryan was a part of a very different Marvel movie. As some might know, the original Marvel movie that started this whole live action comics trend was Blade, starring Wesley Snipes as the titular vampire hunter. By the time the third film of that franchise rolled around, Wesley Snipes was actually just done with working on set. He hated the way the franchise was turning out, and all of his creative suggestions were very quickly shut down. His main problem was the fact that Blade Trinity was written as a straight up comedy movie when the previous entries were more dark and action packed, filled with gore and some pretty stellar fight sequences. So when Van Wilder was casted to be his co-star, he kinda gave up. He famously refused to film several scenes unless he was allowed to keep his shades on. Apparently he was just micro-napping during takes because he just didn't care anymore. Ryan Reynolds played a big part in his difficulty enjoying the film. Apparently Reynolds just made it his mission to make Wesley snap. He'd constantly do bits, push things too far, make stuff up on the set. At the end of the day, Blade Trinity ended up burying the franchise, and it was one of the most chaotic and toxic film sets probably ever. Number 5. Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron. Mad Max Fury Road is a wonderful film in cinema history. It featured like no CGI despite having some incredible visuals, and it also had some pretty stellar performances from its cast, including Nicholas Hoult, Charlize Theron, and Tom Hardy. Charlize and Tom played the main characters, Furiosa and Max. While their on-screen characters end up working together in the end, on set it was just very different. Tom had a bit of a bad habit for showing up late, basically all the time. Meanwhile, Charlize was a brand new mother who would be on time every day while her kids were forced to be taken care of by someone else. In a book called Red, Sweat and Chrome, The Wild and True Story of Mad Max, writer Kyle Buchanan shared an instance on set between Charlize and Tom. Everyone was on set, 8 a.m., ready to go, except for Tom. But to make a point, Charlize took her place and stayed there for 3 hours until Tom finally showed up. She didn't move a muscle, and according to the crew, she was beyond furious. When Tom finally showed up, she asked him how he could be so disrespectful. They said that they should fine the See You Next Tuesday $100,000 for every minute that he held up the crew. She didn't say See You Next Tuesday, but the word she did say set Tom off. He rushed up to her and pulled out the whole "what did you just say to me" thing, because he's a big tough guy and he can't hear well. Overall, Charlize felt pretty threatened by Tom and had to have an assistant follow her around on set as a buffer between the two, and I found out that following the film they actually apologized, mended things up, and Tom realized that he was a bit intense on set, which is to say the least. Number 4, The Rock and Vin Diesel. Dwayne and Vin first met on the set of the 5th Fast and Furious movie. This was Vin Diesel's 5th movie while it was Dwayne's first, not just in a franchise, but in the acting world in general. At first, everything was okay with these guys on set. Fast 5 was pretty good, it made a lot of money, and they asked Dwayne to come back for 2 more movies. However, something changed. In 2016, in a now deleted post, he called out one of his fellow Fast 7 co-stars a candy. He actually said a word that rhymes with grass. Rumors started to fly that he was more than likely referencing Vin Diesel. Rumors that were proven true only a week after that post was made. Following the premiere of Fate of the Furious, Johnson posted to Instagram thanking all of his fellow cast and crew, but he left Vin Diesel out of that thank you. It was later confirmed by Fast and Furious co-star Michelle Rodriguez that there was a massive amount of tension on the set of the film. They were buddies at first, but as time went on and the franchise evolved, so did their egos. They fought constantly over who should receive more screen time, who the real lead of the franchise was, all that fun toxic masculinity. To keep both actors happy, Johnson was given a spin-off in which he co-starred with Jason Statham, and Vin Diesel was left right where he belongs with his family, probably making Fast 21 right now. Number 3, Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze. Jen and Patrick have starred in a few movies together, most of which were made in the 1980s and are still talked about to this day. Before starring together in the classic 1987 flick Dirty Dancing, they were featured in the film Red Dawn. According to Jennifer, the set was a nightmare for her. While their characters were okay on screen, off screen, Pat was apparently pulling pranks on crew and cast left and right. She said that he was a very alpha individual and acted a lot like a socially unaware jock. She told the director that the things that he was doing just made her uncomfortable and it was just a bit too much. Following Red Dawn, they parted ways for a while but got back together for Dirty Dancing, something that actually almost didn't happen. Jennifer screen tested with Patrick and knew that there was something there, but that she just wasn't into the idea of working with this guy one-on-one. During the audition process, Patrick took Jennifer aside and with tears in his eyes, he apologized for his actions, telling her that this film could only work if they were on the same page. According to Jennifer, the moment following their interaction was when he lifted her up into the air for the first time, and that was it. Nobody else could have been in this movie. There is actually a sequel to the original film in the works, but no current release date is public. Number 2, Rachel McAdams and Ryan Gosling. The Notebook is of course considered to be one of the best romantic movies ever made. Oddly enough, this on-screen couple actually did not get along at all while they were filming. They'd constantly fight on set and had completely different ideas on how most of the scenes should play out. One day in particular was pretty exciting for anyone not involved. Ryan called over the director and demanded that Rachel be replaced by another actress because the way she was reading her lines just didn't work for him. In front of 150 crew members, he was like, "Rachel isn't giving me anything, get her out of here!" The two would constantly yell on set, and that was probably one of the worst days. Their toxic on-set feud somehow morphed into a relationship. They were together for like 2 years, and anyone who worked on the set blames them for constant schedule setbacks and just making an overall bad work environment. And at number 1, Janet Hubert and Will Smith. Will Smith got his big break in the acting world thanks to the success of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, a show that was fantastic and followed Will as the titular prince living with his family in Bel-Air, surrounded by cousins, uncles, and Aunt Viv. In season 1, Aunt Viv was played by a woman named Janet Hubert Whitten, but as a lot of people know, she was recasted because an on-set feud with Will just went way too far. According to Will, Janet just saw him as a bad guy, she had been in the business for years when Will suddenly popped into her life. She held a lot of jealousy towards him because he just kind of walked into town and got a job, which is what happens when you're good at acting, I guess. She was trying to convince the producers of the show to give her character more screen time and let her breathe, but of course they said no because it's not the Aunt Viv show. She fought back hard, but it was ultimately decided that she would be asked to sit out for the rest of the series, and she got replaced by Daphne Maxwell Reid, who is the legendary Aunt Viv that we all know and love.